What is Google SGE, or Google Search Generative Experience?
What is SGE? So to me, super basic level, if I was having to explain it to my mum, be like, those featured snippet things that you get when you Google some things and there's a little box at the top with an answer. It's a bit like that, but you can have a conversation with it. Instead of it just giving you that one instance of an answer, you can kind of be like, oh, tell me more about how many legs a centipede has, kind of thing. It can be used in shopping environments. However, we expect its most common use will be in informational queries, again, similar to featured snippets, where it will give you the example they gave on the big show that they did was, where can I go for a walk with 2 kids, a dog and a camper van, and it spat back three different results of parks nearby that you might want to go to, but then you can be like, tell me more, what if they're big dogs, kind of thing, and it will just carry on ad infinitum. And supposedly you can complete your query without having to visit a website. Although I think at this stage, for me, that is questionable. No doubt you'll be able to do it on certain things, but I doubt you'll be able to do it for a lot of them.
Yeah, I've been using it this week by accessing a US VPN, and it's pretty slick so far, at least as an early product. I can see it being really, really useful and widely adopted, to be honest.
I'm probably the opposite.
You're the opposite?
Yeah, I think we're still at that stage of like knowing AI is going to be a world-changing thing, so we're just trying to shoehorn it into everything, and what we've landed on is essentially they're describing it as this revolutionary thing, and it's still just Google within Google at the top of Google. It'll be consequential. I don't think it'll be inconsequential, I should add. But I also think it's a bit rubbish.
Early days though.
Early days.
What do you think?
Early days, yeah, give it a go. Give it a go. The same way they gave Google Plus a go. The same way they've given many things a go. Go ahead, give it your best. But yeah, let's see what other stats we've got.
What happened to Google Plus?
What happened to Google Plus? Fuck all. It dwindled.
Yeah.
Dwindled and died like the little forgotten slice of grape you dropped down the side of the fridge.
It didn't even burn brightly. It just never got used. I remember they were trying to force people into it for a good while, weren't they? No chance. All right, I've got a next point here. Again, this is excerpt taken from a search engine article. How would traffic be affected by SGE? So below a list of assumptions posted on Search Engine Journal by Gilead David Mayan. Apologies if I've mispronounced your name. He's a CEO and founder of Agile SEO. Assumption 1. If your page ranks in the snapshot carousel, you will get some organic traffic. Assumption 2. Traffic from the snapshot carousel will be equal to or less than the same rank on Google today. Assumption 3, if you don't rank in the SGE snapshot carousel, but you do rank in the traditional 10 blue links, you won't get any traffic. Brackets, this is a conservative assumption. Some users will probably scroll past SGE and click the blue links. Gilead also gave some pessimistic click-through rates or estimations with an upcoming study. Click-through rate in SGE, brackets pessimistic. Here, we estimate that SGE will result in half the click-through rate for the top 10 positions. Again, we assume the first 3 positions in SGE have identical click-through rate. Did I enter into that? Okay. Gilead ran a test study where it estimated SGE results will result in half the click-through rate for the top 10 positions. Again, you assume the first 3 positions in SGE have identical click-through rate to typical rankings. The study found in the best scenario, the websites dropped by 18% in relevant organic sessions. Here they estimated a relatively high click-through rate, roughly the same as Google today, and we're talking the best rank seen for each keyword. In the worst scenario, the websites dropped by 64%, wiping out 405,000 monthly organic traffic sessions. Here we estimate that click-through rate in Google SGE will be half what we have in Google today, and we assume that if a keyword isn't ranking, even in one observation, it doesn't rank at all. In the mixed scenarios with optimistic ranks stroke pessimistic click-through rate, or vice versa, there are still significant drops of 38-54%. Just think about what old Gilead had said there.
I think it's really interesting, and I think, even though I just said I don't think it's that as big a deal as Google making it out to be, I do think traffic drops are to be expected on certain terms where SGE is going to be showing up. One of the things I'll be really interested to see when it's out in the wild and used extensively is what does that do to conversion rates on site. So obviously we're a search agency, so we're generally looking at search marketing to increase revenue for e-commerce stores and lead gen sites. We're not too fussed about publishers, which is I think is a very different story and one we'll probably leave alone for this bit. But what's that going to do for conversion rate on site? Because where you're looking at product-related terms, for starters, if any of those possibilities lead to someone not clicking on a site, you could argue that they would be the people that would go on your site previously, have a look around maybe to get a bit of information, check out reviews or whatever it is, and then carry on with their merry day. So therefore, are you going to see that yes, overall organic traffic decreases, but your conversion rate increases, revenue stays relatively the same, maybe even goes up a little bit? No, it wouldn't go up. You expect a relatively similar amount of revenue coming from related terms, because actually what you're doing through SGE is effectively removing the window shoppers. So the people who aren't really there yet on purchasing, and they're just trying to glean a little bit of the specification or information and then carry on with their day. That's my immediate question for that one.
Something to bear in mind as well with that test environment that is set up is that the people seeing those SGE results are seeing them for the first time. There's huge novelty to want to muck around with those things. I wonder, after everybody's seen those things for 2 years, does everything just go back to normal and you look at it just as you would, or as people commonly do with paid ads now? It just becomes part of the page and you go back to all reliable, which is that top 3 ranking.
Yeah, I think similar to kind of a lot of the voice search stuff when, voice search was the big thing however long ago it was. And you see people on the tube or walking around town Googling like with their voice of going like, where can I get a pair of shoes, and all the things that people definitely don't actually do in real life. Yeah, there's that novelty element where people will use it because they think it's cool. Yeah, it's going to be really hard to get a true picture of its effect until it's well underway. And I think anyone claiming to know how it's going to play out is being a little bit loose with their description of knowledge.
How do you see Google SGE affecting your money, your life?
Oh, good question. Less than others. I think SGE, my guess is, it's going to be more used with inconsequential informational stuff. So if you imagine, the sort of facts you'd be looking for to help your primary school kid with their homework or something like that. I think the second it comes to things that the user perceives as like an expensive purchase, again, something that's affecting their health or something like that, they might, even if they initially use it, I think they're going to go elsewhere, whether that's going on to the website, so in a health side of things like NHS or Healthline or something like that, to try and dig into it a little bit more, try and get the nuances. I don't think it's going to be as effective or used in those spaces eventually. They might still open it up and give it a go, but if you think of the old trope of every health issue you Google, you've got cancer, is usually the first result. Like, we were like, why does my chest hurt? I've got a heart attack. My tummy hurts. It's definitely cancer, kind of thing. And then you've got to do a lot of digging around. Obviously, the advantage of SGE on feature snip is that it's not just a fixed result, and you've got like a little chat. You can ask it questions, and it will suggest some things. But sites like the NHS have designed pages that will help. They'll give all the information. They'll give links that are categorized and things like that. They're designed to give people that kind of like category view and a scan of things, and then you can click in more detail as you need to, and it presents all the information. I think for complex things like health and expensive purchases as well, if you're looking for something like a bed or even like a pair of like walking shoes, if they're expensive and they've got a technical nature. If I go to, Salomon's site, or if I even go to like Runner's Need or something like that, and trying to check out which are the best ones for the type of activities I want to be doing, they've done it for a long time. They know how to like lay things out, and also we're conditioned to experience it in that order. The SGE, whether it's eventually useful or not and widely adopted, it's bringing in a new UX to that fairly well-trodden user journey, right? And we know from experience as marketers, whenever we've tried it on our own website and we've done fancy forms and things like that. And I think subjectively, yes, but with a lot of experience behind it, I'm like, this form is way cooler, and it like takes people on a journey. It's like a step process. I'm like, this is brilliant. And then we put it out in the wild, and it absolutely flops. Like, it's no good. And I think a large part of that is not because we're rubbish, Your Honour, but because people are used to a certain layout and a certain journey. Maybe it'll be successful, but I think it's going to take bloody ages because people are reluctant to change. And that's just the human condition. We can't help that.
Tried using it to find a recipe for beef goulash. I actually returned no results as of the moment. Whether that's a sign for they're not willing to make you sick with recipes or beyond, I don't know.
They're very nervous. Did you want the American goulash or the Hungarian goulash? That's the real question.
What American goulash?
Yeah, American, I recommend it. I do the weekend. Top stuff, yeah.
Can products feature in commercial searches? It seems to prioritise once you narrow yourself down to a product theme search. Majority of the results seem to come from current existing Google shopping campaigns, which is a telltale sign of Google, I think, try to push for more revenue using AI. They're not just necessarily using it to make the user experience better, but to drive people to paid ads as well, of which they will earn off. I'd actually argue as well the shopping results that were previewed were far more helpful than standard shopping results as they are. Within each of the results that appeared on the page or the search results page, it would come with a little drop down of an AI-powered product description. So you'd actually, from that front-facing search result, get a pretty good idea of the product that you were looking at without having to go on to an actual website. And then under that, it would link to a few different areas or a few different websites that were selling that product.
I think that will be effective in products where what you see is what you get. That's the long and short of it. So fast fashion, probably yes. You know, for like occasion wear, like occasion jewelry and things like that. I think probably like food. So if you want, like I needed 50 grams of dried porcini mushrooms for a recipe the other week. And there's not much to it. I don't think there's much nuance in jars of dried porcini mushrooms. So yeah, if it throws out a product in that regard, I think it will be useful. Again, the second it goes deeper than that, it falls apart, even with the AI answers. If, you know, down to the technical or expensive thing again. If you want, on the technicality, if you want waterproof coat to a certain rating or something like that, you're going to want to look beyond whatever the first bit of information is, whether it's SGE, whether it's the SERPs. We know this because we see it in behavior on websites where people go off the websites for other trust factors. It's why trust is a massive factor within SEO. So, you know, displaying reviews and things like that on the page. We know quite often people will go off-site to look at brand reviews. You know, Salomon, again, using them as a running example. You look at the product page, you look at the whatever pages you did to get to that journey. But then you might also go and look at like Salomon reviews and see what people think of like their customer service and stuff like that. It's rare in complicated decisions that there is a one-stop shop solution because of again, humans need that validation and need to do their own research. Some don't. I say this as someone who does their own research. I'm well aware there are certain people out there who can just be spoon-fed products, information, whatever it is, and they'll lap it up and they'll go, thank you very much. So maybe it's just me being weird.
2 years into the future, where let's pretend this AI search stuff really takes off and becomes commonplace for users, we might speculate that product landing page is going to be extremely vital for brands. How are users perceiving AI search? Here's a little fact from a survey for you. 29% of adults would switch to an AI-powered search. Regarding the adoption of AI-powered search, 40% of millennials are willing to make the switch to an experience like Google SGE. Seems the writing is on the wall somewhat. Users like it, which is Google's main goal. Better search. Just think about that.
Oh, I think many things about that. Shame on you, millennials. So I think it's a bad survey or bad question, because anyone that's using Google right now without SGE is relying on AI-powered search. RankBrain, part of the algorithm, the algorithm is an AI-powered search. so it's just people not quite understanding what it is. I don't want to like poo-poo the whole thing with SGE, but it's already AI. You're already using it. AI is used everywhere. I think it's just people understanding exactly what AI means. So I don't think that's particularly revelatory. We know it's true. In fact, it's fairly bloody understated, because I don't know what percentage of millennials currently use Google, but I guess it's higher than, 40%? So yeah, they'll use it. I'm sure 40%, if I take the most charitable interpretation of what I think that's saying, I'm sure 40% at least will give it a go when it's force-fed to us in the search results. Again, the real question is Is it going to be useful? Is it going to be make things easier? Is it reduce the need for people to check around? They're the more interesting questions, I think, and where I'm leaning towards no as an answer for over a long time. I think there will be a different solution. They might still call it SGE, but I think what it will look like will be very different by the time it gets to mass adoption.
So someone I'm sure everyone listening is asking is how does SGE affect current page one top performers? So the guys that have been doing it right for a long time, many of our clients, we'd hope. People have been putting in massive efforts to serve Google's algorithm for years now. And early studies have found 93.8% of generative links in this particular data set that was used, at least, came from sources outside of top-ranking organic domains. Only 4.5% of generative URLs directly matching a page one organic URL, and only 1.6% showing a different URL from the same organic ranking domain. So currently, at least in the beta format, it seems that SGE is not pulling the same results that Google would deem really valuable and indicative of a good user experience.
That is a crazy stat. Is that from Google?
No, that's from an independent study.
Because that, I mean, I can't imagine Google would like to talk about that much, because essentially what that's saying is if Google is saying that search generative experience is like a better, more streamlined search, and whatever percentage of queries are not giving results from the top. It didn't give a number, did it? It just said the top results. So I don't know whether that's top 3, top 5, top 10. Page 1 results. Okay, so if it's throwing things from outside of the top 10 results, that is mind blowing, because what that suggests is traditional Google is inadequate at properly servicing user intent. I see how that one plays out, I think.
It's a scary stat, but it's also worth bearing in mind it's in its earliest beta stage at the moment.
Yeah. So the most scandalous reason for that would be that Google's not doing a very good job. I don't think that's true. The TikTok doomsayers like to say that TikTok is overtaking it. It's not. But that's the most headline grabbing reason for that. I think the other one would be that it's still it's still officially in beta in the States. Yeah, it's still kind of experimental, isn't it? So actually, I think the more realistic outcome is that search generative experience is not quite got it yet. I think that's more realistic because, again, like we see with all the log LLMs, they're still learning, right? They're still going through versions like you don't know what. So I think it's more realistic an outcome that the AI search result answers maybe aren't quite getting it yet, and that the AI model's not quite there. Crazy though if it's not. I mean, if Google has to be like, oh, you know what, sorry everyone, Google was useless before this, to be honest, we were just making it up. There's going to be market leaders who appear on page 1 for anything. If we scratch that idea that SGE is going to be pulling results from page 6 of Google and things like that, I think that assume that's silly for now. SGE is only something that's going to be worth looking at for the absolute market dominators and maybe, the top third of the market. I think for everyone else, it's going to be a real red herring in terms of like budget and optimizing for it, because again, you can't, if your site is otherwise pants and it's really slow and it's hard to navigate and all your content is rubbish and it's not backed up by stats and you've got no reviews, or you do and you don't kind of signpost them in the correct ways, you've got bigger fish to fry than appearing for SGE results. Like fundamental SEO improves all channel performance in theory because it improves how users interact with your site. So a little kind of caveat and disclaimer that it is exciting and it's, a lot of people are saying it's going to change the world and whoa, crazy. But for the vast majority of brands that aren't at the top of the market and they're fighting to just, appear consistently and have Google as organic as a viable channel, it's not really something to get that worried about, because there's a load of other stuff that you've got to do before you get there.
Well, the first one is, how do we see this affecting consideration type content for brands that are already well invested?
Probably quite a lot. I would concede that consideration type content is probably where it's going to have the biggest impact in my head, at least, because it'd be things, if you're looking at like beds, like what's the difference in like mattress sizes, and what's the difference between like a coil sprung mattress and a memory foam mattress and things like that. Traditionally, you might create a guide section on the site, and you'd be able to answer those, and it doesn't then lead to a transaction, but it's another kind of trust signal and a bit of brand kind of recall that a user's going to your site and getting that information. You might be able to entice them with a few call to actions and discounts and sales and things like that. But in that moment, the interaction has ended. I think that's probably where it's going to have the biggest effect, is where it's easily answerable stuff and trivia about products or certain things, again, if they're technical or perceived as expensive, then I imagine it's going to be heavily affected in that kind of space where people are just kind of trying to get a bit more information about it. Then they've recognized that they need the thing, and there's a few options, and they're trying to narrow down those options. That's where it's going to have the biggest effect, I think.
Will SGE affect bottom line profits and returns for those that already invested so heavily in great online experience? Early to say.
Probably not profits, because it's similar to when we see new features. So I know, again, I use feature snippets, and there's a much simpler one, but there was a similar kind of intensity of conversations at the time it came out, and Google's trying to rob us of web traffic, and they're just effectively plagiarizing, they're nicking our content, they're putting it in the SERPs, and no one's going to click it. It's going to be the end of the world, and we'll never make money again from Google. And it didn't happen, right? We know it didn't happen. We saw the brands that we work with, they still grew. We incorporated feature snippets into their strategies, and the sky didn't fall down. The sky didn't fall down with Mobilegeddon. The sky didn't fall down with Penguin or Panda. They maybe did a little bit for a few people, actually, but that happens less so. It's going to affect stuff. It's going to affect priorities for organic. It's going to affect things like consideration content. Everything costs when it comes to marketing, right? So yeah, maybe it will affect, how much effort you need to put into search. For some people, undoubtedly, if it requires more effort, it's going to make Google organic less viable for those people, but it's going to be such a small subset of those kind of challenger brands that are working on a shoestring budget. I'd suspect it's those, but if you're top of market, it's always going to be a massive channel for you. It's going to be worth the effort, and the head of marketing's know if they stop doing it, the next person's going to do it, and they're just going to get all that money off you instead. So the marketing race continues.
I just see SG fitting in within a wider multi-channel strategy.
I think it fit in the same way as Google fits in. Essentially, the way they're marketing it is it's the new Google. It's it's the best thing. Google, best thing since Google. They're sticking it at the top. They're trying to in every way mimic it as just a traditional search result, but with AI inserted. It's being explained as the same thing but better. So I think no change there. Hot take. I don't think that it's all they're making it out to be. Even if it is, it's not the end of the world. And I think there's a ton of speculation at the moment, but we really need to see it play out. We need it to come over to the UK and see how it reacts. The US search landscape's a different place to us. I think get it over here. Let's see how it plays out. It's not going to be that hard to adapt to it.